everything work just as the old traditional system. It appears there's a whole bunch of buttons missing on this board. There's not. So we'll get into that. But the main thing to understand is this is digital. So the beauty of it is that we can now have people come and go, and you're not left over with the changes the last person made. You can actually be left with the changes you made, no matter who's been in here since then. So right now we're leaving it unlocked. We'll eventually be we're not having a problem, but eventually we will get back down to where we start locking the board down again. When you're done, it's nice to please put the cover on it, just to keep the dust off of it. So when you come up in the booth, you'll find everything like this. Pretty much everything is off. So what we did was, if you're familiar with sound systems, when you turn the sound system on, you were supposed to turn it on in a certain order, or you can actually blow your speakers. So what we did is we actually put a motorized breaker board in. So if you just push the on, and what you'll do is you'll watch certain things come up before other things. And the whole idea is to get things on properly. It takes a second because the main speakers will be the last thing to come on. Okay, so once you get it up, for our wireless microphones, what we're doing right now is we're trying to, since microphones are held to your mouth, we're trying to separate those out. So on this drawer over here are the Spanish service mics, and this drawer here are the English service mics. So we just ask that we not switch the two because of just COVID and you're holding them to your mouth. And I mean, I can wipe those things off as much as I want. As my wife says, where she works at the hospital, they have these picnic tables with the little holes in them. She goes, there's no way you'll ever get those clean. Same thing with a microphone. There's all those little grooves and holes in it. I can wipe it all I want, but I'm not going to get down in those grooves. So that's why we're trying to keep those separated. The other difference that you'll see in this building from the other building is there's not a monitor on the stage. We don't run monitors in here. It causes more problems than it's worth because of the way this room is designed. So we are completely in-ear in this building. So the only thing that we do share is on this drawer here, we have these body packs. Spanish service has their headphones. English service has their headphones. I think they keep theirs elsewhere. The main difference is a gold or a brownish colored earpiece is for the English service, and a blue earpiece is for the Spanish service. And now they have these assigned out by person, and I've got a few more to bring over so you'll have some spares. So just try to, since you're sticking them in your ears.
I didn't see lighthouse in there. Haven't? Okay.
So since you're sticking it in your ears, people just tend to get freaked out about earwax. On our side, what we've been doing is sometimes if we don't have enough people, we'll just take the earpieces with them home and bring the earpieces back, and then we share the headphone itself. So there's lots of different ways to share that. So that's the main thing there. Now for the singers, we use the body packs. Those are controlled through the board, and we'll go over that. For the band, they're actually using something that's comparable to what you had over in the other building on the microphone stand. Those are analog, these are digital. Once again, that's going to be the main difference between the two buildings, is the difference between analog and digital. So once we got the sound system on, the first thing you have to do, which is what is the beauty of a digital system, is you have to decide who's going to use it, as far as who's going to be the one using it. So if you come right here where it says scenes, if I touch scenes, it's going to bring up, and right now we don't have a lot in there, but we have the most important stuff in there. So right now we have, it's just called English service, and I have it dated 6/20. What that means is that's for the English service, and the last time I updated that profile was June of 2020. So if I go in and make changes, then I just redate it so that I know that this is the most recent one. The second one on there is Spanish service, 6 of 20. Same thing, it's for the Spanish service. Last time we set it up was June of 2020. So what I want to do is, all I do is I touch where it says Spanish service. Well, right now you can see it's already set up for Spanish service. So I'm just going to hit English, and then I hit recall. When I hit recall, it says, hey, you're going to recall the English service. Do you want to do that? Yes. And then you notice the board,
Nice.
everything changed.
So when you're recalling it, in essence, what you're doing is just removing all those settings and opening it up for.
What I'm doing is I'm taking those settings that are saved, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to put you,
On the side.
it's like opening up
Wait,
two,
I think what she means is the opposite. What you're doing is recalling what you saved under that scene.
right.
No, I understood it that when you do the recall, you're putting it away and just leaving it in generic settings so that then we can
Recall it.
set or when you recall, you're pulling
The settings.
from
What was saved?
Storage.
What
from a
was
saved
saved.
storage
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
making it live on the board.
It's the same thing as if you have two Word documents and you're typing in Word. Well, you type in one and you get done with it and you save it and you want the other document, so you call the other document up. That document you were working on is saved, it's over here, it's not doing anything. And anything you do to this document is not going to affect that document. So then you close this document, you call this one back up, and you can do that between the documents all day long. That's all you're doing here is I'm just saying I want to bring up a different document. So as you can see now, this is completely set up differently. These are motorized faders, so you saw them all move. And then all you do is, if you want to recall Spanish, we're just going to hit Spanish. We're going to hit under recall go, and then we're going to say, yes, that's what I want to do. And everything changes back. So that way, what we do on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings does not affect what you're doing, because those are saved settings. I mean, I can go in and repatch things completely different. Difference between an analog board and a digital board also is on an analog board, you actually have a wire running from this jack through the floor to a box on the stage, and until you physically go and change that wire, it's going to always be right there. On a digital board, I can, through settings in this board, say, no, I want what's plugged in here to actually act as if it's coming from somewhere else on the board. And I can actually say, well, I don't want it to be jack number 1. I don't actually want it to be jack number 1 anymore. I want it to be a jack that's in the back of the building. And so you can reassign it however you want it without having to physically go unplug it, track down that wire. I haven't touched the back of here in forever. But I've changed how things are plugged constantly because you can do it, it's all digital now. So what you're used to as being the snake over in the other building, which is a big piece of cable like this, and it's gonna probably make a sound when I do it.
Yeah, but that's for the advanced course.
Okay, well, I just want people to understand it.
That
So-
it's not set.
So, yeah, and we'll get into that later. So this right here, one of these, this little purple cable right here, is that entire snake that's over in that other building, which is about that thick. That's all of it. So, all right, so now to run the system, once you have it set up, and there's been a little bit of confusion on this, I'll make sure, you have 4 handheld microphones and 1 lapel. So Pastor Ricky, how do I say this?
He has two.
He has 2. He's needy. How about that? So
He's special.
So Pastor Ricky has the lapel, which is labeled LA1, and he also has a handheld. The reason being is a lapel microphone is not something you want to sing through, and he sings. So when he's singing, he needs to use handheld number 1. When he's preaching, he needs to do lapel 1, because for speaking, especially when you get excited and wave your hands, A lapel mic is much better, and it's more consistent, and you're not tracking the sound as much. And then you have microphone 2, 3, and 4, and then we've hardwired one that usually stays around the piano. Or we have that possibility right there. And then, of course, you have your keys, electric, acoustic, and bass. Now, we have the pad, and then we have some down here, echo and reverb. And then where it says COMP, comp, that's the computer right here. So if you're playing music from the computer, it's coming in there. If you play music from that CD player, it's coming in right here. The most important thing, which I forgot it was up here, which John had trouble with last week, is these last 4 right here. On the board that y'all have that was over there, I believe it had a section where you had 1 through whatever. I think it's 36, I'm not sure, or
28.
28, 1 through 28. And then you have 4 little things that you could assign it to, and then you have your master volume. These are those 4 little buttons. So what happens is if you sent something and it went to one of those 4 little things, but you turned it off, it didn't go in the room. Well, now it's here.
Okay.
That's what these 4 are. So these always need to be at least, we call unity 0.
Okay.
So if anyone says put it at unity, that means take it to 0. And so what happens is every once in a while I'll have someone that, whether they hit it by their hand, whether some setting gets messed up, where all of a sudden that'll happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't hear it in the house. I don't hear it in the house. I don't hear it in the house. I hear it other places, but I don't hear it in the house. And you're laying underneath the stage, you're crawling underneath the floor, you're doing everything, and you can't find it. It's because it's turned off right here. So I always start with those at unity. Now the thing is, the way we use this though, is let's say you've got a wonderful mix for vocals, and it's working exactly the way you want it, but they're just too hot. They're too strong. Well, instead of having to grab all 4 of them and try to evenly pull all 4 down at the same time, I can just come here and do that. And all 4 of the mics that are they evenly go down and come back up. We have that for the keys. The reason we have it for the keys is a lot of times the keys include the piano, and we have had times where we've had 2 keyboards in here also. So keys, then you have your guitars, your acoustics, and your electrics, and then your drums and your bass. Are all on, so that's the 4 that we have assigned.
And guitars also include bass, is that correct?
No.
No.
Bass and drums are together.
Are together.
Because they tend to live in that family together. And
That's the last one?
Yeah, that's the last
Okay.
one. Now, the other way to do it is, as you grow, see, in our case, we don't have room for all of this on one thing. That's a 28 channel board, this is a 48 channel board. And what happens is you get so much of it on the first screen, and then we have layers that give you more of it. So, and I'll show you on the English side what that looks like. So we don't have this on our main board. Or if you're just, so what happens is we have these soft keys up here. So if I want to turn the vocals down, all I do, and you'll watch the button over there, I can adjust it from right here. The reason I put it up on this setting is just for now, for you to see it, because I can't tell you the number of hours I've spent trying to solve a problem, and that was the problem, but I didn't see it. Now I know that that's the first place I go to check. So, so it's, if you're accustomed to it, you can use this real estate for something else.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's important for that real estate to stay where it's at. Mixing is pretty much the same. You're just going to do, this is pretty much setting up your volumes.
I have a question. How would we fix, for example, we had the situation where we could hear the guitars in the Facebook Live, but I
That's
think
what
the
he's talking
musicians
about.
couldn't hear
That's what he's
directly.
talking about.
So it would be in those
It
same,
was
that's
probably
it.
right in
Okay.
here.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be right in here. Now, the other issue you're going to run into is, sometimes the musicians have trouble hearing, and it really boils down to, in their box, they're not mixing it correctly. And this is something that we all have to work with the musicians together on. The way that you should use those boxes are, when you go up there, you need to, because what they'll do is they'll just walk in, plug in, and go, I can't hear myself. Well, what they first should do is almost zero everything down to zero. Put your headphones in, and then play the instrument that you're playing. And then adjust it so that you can hear it. And then say, okay, what's the next thing I need to hear? Well, the next thing I need to hear is the lead singer. Then bring the lead singer in to where you need them in comparison to the guitar. And then bring everything else in underneath it. What's happening is they'll come in there, well, I can't hear it. Well, that's because, and no offense, the drums were turned all the way up because the last person who was there needed to hear the kick drum. You know, and so the drums are all the way up and the electric's all the way up, but the acoustic is the instrument that's leading this for this time. Well, they're overpowering what you need to hear, and if they're all the way up, you can't bring everything else up any higher. So it's best to bring everything down and build back up again. You know, it's the same thing here. If someone was to say, hey, the electric's, instead of saying the electric's too loud, if you say, it's just the perception of how you say it, instead of saying, hey, the electric guitar is too loud, if you say, hey, I can't hear the singers. Well, why can't I hear the singers? Because the electric's too loud. But the problem is if I say I can't hear the singers, then I'm going to start pushing the singers up. And the room's just going to get louder and louder and louder, and I'm not improving the quality of the sound. I'm actually hurting the quality of the sound. But if I say, hey, the electric's too loud, then all I have to do is come over here and bring the electric down, and it solves the problem. So that's the way you have to sort of do it. The same thing with the box that's up on the board for the musicians is.
Yeah, what happened last Sunday was we all had our headphones on,
Yeah.
and we sounded great in the headphones. And then at the end of the rehearsal, I take off my headphones and I'm like, I can only hear the piano. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, and that's the hard part, and that's one of the things that as we get more accustomed to it, what you have to do, and we've had to.
Yeah, because we don't use the in-ears.
Right.
Well, we never used them before.
Right.
We just had like
Of monitor on the floor.
Feedback. So we just have to get kind of used
Yeah.
to the.
What happens in this building if you try to use monitors, you have to put the monitors so loud that you actually hear the monitors and the mains at the same time, and it's mud. So what we've had to actually tell people is you have to depend on the in-ears. Now, and yes, mistakes happen, but you actually have to, as a musician or a singer, you just have to say, what I hear in my ears is fine, and I need to not worry about the building. Now, there are problems where the building is bad, and where there's a problem that needs to be fixed, and so it's good to get that information, but also don't try to. Well, what's in my ears is fine, but what I hear in the building's different, and so sound guys get frustrated because the people on stage are trying to run sound from the stage, and that's not what you were doing because it was actually a legitimate problem. Yeah. So like I said, those are the most important there.
Question, Paul. So if you're having a problem in the streaming, it shall not be the house.
That is correct.
There should be completely separate and independent systems.
It is, and that's where we're going to go next.
Okay.
So now we know where everything is, but the problem is it's controlling more than one thing. So this is the most important little color that you're going to see is this, not the blue button, but the blue color. That blue color tells you what you're working on. So right now, if I'm going to come over here and hit that button, the blue light is on mix 1, which is singer pack number 1 for our lead singer. So no matter, and if you notice as I do this, things change. Because that's a completely different mix. So in the past when...
It's possessed.
Yeah. So in the past when someone says, hey, in this monitor I need more, they would follow it up, and let's say that was monitor 1, and you would change it in monitor 1. Well, that's not how it works anymore. let's just say that's monitor 1, and I run it just like the soundboard. That would be monitor 2. I run it just like the soundboard. I add to it and take away. But the problem is you're trying to mix the house. The last thing you did was work on monitor 1. I'm just calling it monitor 1 for the sake of calling it monitor 1. Last thing you did was work on monitor 1. You didn't clear it, and now all of a sudden you're going, how come I'm not hearing any more of this in the house? It's not changing. And your poor person that's listening to monitor 1, their ears are bleeding because you're pushing this all the way up and you're affecting what they're hearing. Always, always, always pay attention to where the blue light is. The blue light tells you what it is you're changing. Cannot tell you the number of times that I've been down here, or I've been down here trying to adjust something, and the people on the live stream are screaming at me because it's just blowing up. And I'm all frustrated because Pastor Jeff won't get any louder, you know, in the room. So please watch this very carefully, which now brings us to his question. The blue light being right here is the main house. If the blue light is right there, whatever I do here happens in this room and in this room only. If the blue light is here, there's 6 ear packs that we have. One of them is labeled Singer 1. That's this one. This is Singer Ear Pack 2. And then this one here is the 4 packs that are all the same. They all are controlled together on one. And that's just because we can't have every singer have their own mix. So we have 3 separate mixes. 2 singers get their own mix, and the rest of the singers get a common mix.
What do you mean by that, though? What is that controlling?
Okay, so right now, let's just say.
That's only for the
For the in-ear.
Well, I mean, y'all have the same capabilities. So let's just say, Maribel's singing,
Yeah.
and she's leading. And so we decide that she needs her own mix. So in that case, you have the option of giving her the one that's labeled 1.
Okay, hold on. So we can come to this drawer and pick up
For
The packs only.
these only.
The packs only.
You have the earpieces that work with them.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's
but
why I
these,
asked.
these we can't afford to buy duplicates of.
something. So
Because I don't
what
think
I
we've
can,
been using that at all.
Yeah.
No.
So, and that's why it's a process of getting there. Yeah.
so I use the in-ear and I.
Right. Now, if it doesn't matter, if everyone's fine,
Yeah.
the best thing to do is use these 4
And just use it all together.
and just use the 3rd button down, which is the singer mix. And that way you're not dealing with 3 different mixes.
So what do I use to hear?
So these,
Your own,
So
your
if
your
own.
own headphones.
Okay.
These are only for singers, they're not for band members.
Exactly, because I think what we have over there right now is
Well, that can be for band,
for band.
these can be for band and singers.
I know, but I don't know that we have any singers that have,
Okay.
do we?
Have what?
That have
Your own.
They don't have their own
Okay,
in-ears.
I've got some on my desk, I'll
They
drop
haven't
them
been
off.
using in-ears.
Okay, so I'll be dropping off, I've got some more on my desk, I'll be dropping them off in here.
Okay.
But like these are all, like Maribel has one in here,
Okay, now I
Yeah,
understand.
but
what you-
Maribel,
That's why I was
because
confused.
Maribel.
Yeah.
but she
plays
sings
guitar.
as well.
So
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah, 'cause she
the
plays.
singers would have
That's what
No, I
she-
understand that.
Now I'm remembering. from
And
when
singers
I
use a
sang,
pack.
They use a pack.
Right,
This-
because a singer can't really sing and try to adjust at the same time. You know, it's hard for a musician to, but they can, yeah, it's not as awkward for so that's what these first 3 are. The next one is drum kit. You don't ever worry about that. That is just so that the drum kit gets to the stage. So the only thing you ever really want to do is to make sure if you get the drum kit that it is not muted, because then no one hears it. So sometimes if you're having problems like, they say, well, in the box, I can't hear this. Well, if it's a drum kit or the piano, you just want to come and check to make sure that it didn't get muted up here. Because those are multiple mics that we had to combine down to 1, and in doing so, I had to stick it over here. So the next one you need to worry about right here, this is the one that you were having trouble with last week, is the one that says live stream.
Right.
So you want to mix the room. and then you want to mix live stream. Basically, you just come here, and where it says PAFL, I can't tell you, I forgot what that actually means. It's just where you can privately listen to it. If you push that PFAL button, it turns yellow, and now what's coming through the headphones is what you've selected. So you select live stream, you put the headphones on, and you can turn the volume up, and then you go ahead and mix it so that you hear what you should hear. Now, what we do, and if you have the luxury, which sometimes you might, where you have a second sound person, what we do is, and we'll get to the pad, that's an advanced course we'll do later, is we'll give the iPad, because you don't have to sit up here to run the sound system. You actually run the sound system anywhere in the building. So we'll give them the iPad, and they will actually go into like the nursing mothers, to one of the rooms right here with the glass. What they're hearing in those rooms is live stream. So they'll just go in there, turn the volume up, and they'll mix live stream separately. And actually, I put new speakers in the live stream area this week, so it's a lot louder, so they could even stand there and mix it.
So let me ask you, Paul, once we do that mix for the live stream, how do we save that setting? So are we able to press the live stream and have the setting that we chose automatically like you did before on the others?
What you would do is, like, I would suggest after this Sunday, is that once you get everything set up, let's resave your settings again.
Okay.
And then they'll go back, that's what they'll go back to. So it'd be a good idea to resave over those
But
save.
remember, that would save everything, including the house.
Right,
So make sure that,
yeah, that, you know, because so you want it to be the standards, we just don't want to make any major changes, so. So that's where your live stream comes into.
How do we mute while they're practicing? How do we mute the live stream? I mean, how do we mute the house so that we can just do the live stream? Those 15 minutes prior to the service?
Right.
So how do we mute the house so it doesn't come out like it happened this past Sunday?
Okay, so what you do is where it says live stream. Okay, so if I'm sitting here and so we're at that 15 minutes and they're still practicing, all you need to do is tell whoever's running sound, hey, could you mute the live stream for me?
Okay.
They're gonna push the live stream button
Okay,
and they're gonna hit mute right there.
all right. So at that, on
And
that
then-
instance,
And then you just pop off, you go back, they do the rest of their room, and then if you have someone running camera, what we always do is, did you use the radio last week or no?
no,
Okay.
we couldn't find them.
Okay, we'll get you that set up
Okay.
this week. So then if you have someone running the camera, then what we do is we just radio in, say 2 minutes before the service, or 30 seconds before the service. We'll tell the camera guy, hey, tell them to unmute live stream. And then all they gotta do is hit live stream, unmute, and now the sound from the house starts going through.
Got it.
Is there any way to save only live stream?
The settings for live stream?
I'm sure there is, but I don't know how.
Okay.
So that way we don't mess with the house, we can just save.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you're not
exactly.
really gonna affect a lot anyway. I mean,
Okay.
like I say, so that's the basic of running this. Like I say, so if Maribel is on singer one, and she says, "Hey, I need more of Pastor Ricky," because she always needs more of Pastor Ricky. Yes. Then what you would do is you would push this because she's on singer pack one, and then you would take Pastor Ricky's handheld and you'd give her more,
Okay,
Okay.
and you're only affecting her.
okay,
Now, if there's 3 other singers up there and they go, and they're on the common packs, and one of them says, well, I need more of this, well, you need to make sure the others need more of that too. Same thing here, you just push that button, and of course, they want less of Pastor Ricky, so we bring that down. And all you're affecting is just those packs that are attached to that. Same thing with live stream. If live stream says, hey, this is too much or this is too little, you push live stream, you make those adjustments, and then I always try to make it a practice of then tapping it when I'm done, so it always comes back to the main.
but we haven't used that yet. I don't know.
The
how
packs, you mean?
ready
Okay.
But we should, because the singers really, I mean, they just use the house.
Yeah.
I know,
Better
but,
if they use the juniors.
I'll be here during practice tomorrow,
yeah.
so
okay.
that will, so if. you-
Crawl, walk.
Yeah.
run.
So, and that's why,
Let's-
you know,
let's make
I've
sure-
said,
Yeah, I'm sorry, let's make sure we know the basics of doing the sound and everything else, and then we start going into the new capabilities that were not here when we saved on the 6th of June.
Yeah.
That's when Jorge and I were here with Paul, and we saved that last setting, which, this is why I couldn't understand. John was having some problem even the other day with the labels on the mics.
right.
And that he couldn't find the 4 mics, and I couldn't understand why not.
Oh, yeah, one's a hardwire now, and the other.
No,
one-
no, there's a 5th.
That's the hardwire, but
It's
the other one
hardwired.
the other one is Pastor Rick's on the far left.
There's-
It's over on
Yeah,
the
that's the
first
lapel.
column, that's where I messed up.
Oh, okay, but there's 4 handhelds.
Yeah, but one's Pastor Rick's, you only have 3. You only have
Yeah, we
3
only have
singers.
4 total, yeah.
We'll talk about that later, because
That's all you
we
have.
wanna see, we
Yeah,
want
his was
him
the
to
one that
sing
was-
or not
remember I said there was
in
one
the
that was high?
devotional.
Yeah.
It was yours,
Yeah.
but it's in a different location on the.
Blame me, go ahead.
No, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, it's actually my fault because it's in a different location. It's just marked differently than Mike 1.
Yeah, okay. It was a matter of labeling and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul said he screwed before, so if he screwed before, we're
But
good.
Now, the other
So,
thing,
now, the other part is, like I said, the board comes on automatically when you push the on button. And now comes the question is, what about all the other buttons that we need? Where did they go? And really it boils down to the question of if I need to give somebody more of something, but it's not just volume. I need to tweak their EQ a little bit. And that's where all this is built into the system. So first off, muting. So if you'll notice right now, these are our mute buttons right here. So I've got all these mics that are just flashing. That means that they're muted up here. So if all of a sudden I want to now unmute the vocals, I just push that, and if you'll notice, the vocals are not blinking anymore. Now I want to unmute the band. Now the band's not blinking anymore. But let's just say we're not going to use this singer mic this week. And I just don't want it to get messed up. So I push mute. Now when I do the singers, notice it blinks differently. That means that I have overridden this button, and so it's not going to unmute ever until I push it again. So that's just your warning there is, if one blinks differently, that means I've manually overridden it. And
I
it,
can't see the label from here, but.
that's microphone, that's the wired microphone number
Exactly,
5.
but I don't remember that being a capability back in June when we did.
It
that.
wasn't, we added it for one of the Sundays that I was here,
Okay,
someone
but-
needed it.
But the saved, when we recalled this scene, we recalled the one in 620.
I think I overrode it that Sunday because we'd made some changes.
So it is there,
It's there,
but when I recalled, is it fully active and?
it's there, but it just,
functional?
it's not, but it's just, I gotta figure out where to plug, I gotta show you where to plug the microphone in. So, yeah, so you'll know where to,
In somewhere specific.
yeah, so, all right, so that's your mute capability up there. So now comes the question of like, how do I go in and adjust the EQ of a microphone? So let's just say it's Pastor Ricky, we're gonna pick on him. So what you have to do is, first of all, you have to go to that microphone. So it's this one right here. And there's mute, there's select, and then there's PAFL, which is to listen. So if I want to hear just Pastor Ricky, I do that, put the headphones on, and I'm going to hear just him. Now this is, the one difference here, this is cumulative. So let's just say I want to see if all the singers are balanced well. Notice, I can select all of those at one time, so all of those come through the headphones at the same time. So it's not like the old system where it's just one or the other.
Yeah.
You can build whatever you want to build. So, but I want to change the EQ for Pastor Ricky. Well, I come in here I hit select. Select means I'm selecting that channel.
Yeah.
But if you notice, this panel up here completely changes. And now we're getting into that channel. So right here, we see Pastor Ricky handheld 1. You're gonna see the bottom is your compression and gate, the very bottom one down here. The second one with the line, that is your EQ. And that is run, and it has,
The opposite.
and it has four, did you have 4 or 3 levels over there of EQ? Highs, mid, lows, or you had 4, so you had highs, upper mids, lower mids, and then lows, okay. Same thing here. So what happens is if I want to bring his highs down, I hit highs, and then there's the 4 different
Yeah.
levels right there, so I hit the highs. I can do the width of the EQ, in other words, how much am I affecting at one time? I can do, whereas over there, if you're doing the highs, it's a preset frequency.
Yeah.
I can change the frequency that I'm affecting, and then also the gain. So bottom line, the gain's the simplest one. I'm on high, which is this first dot right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 dots, the 4th one is low cut. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I move it,
Give it more.
so I bring it up, you notice my highs are going up.
Yeah.
Now, width, just to give you an example of width, notice the yellow curve?
Yeah.
I can flatten it or I can tighten it.
Widen. Widen. There you go. And give him less bass.
Okay, we'll get there. But if for some reason,
Don't give in
No,
But
no,
if for
no,
s- I-
his voice is
I
very
know.
grave. So the adjustments you want to make is to try to flatten the curve. And that's what I do. I do the opposite for Maribel.
yeah. So if for
Maribel's
some
high.
reason I'm affecting the highs, but I'm not hitting the high
You don't
that I
have to do
want,
anything with Maribel.
I can hit frequency, and if you see, I'll move the frequency that I'm affecting.
Yeah.
And so then if I wanted to do the lows, I wanted to bring his lows out, then I can drop them like that,
Drop it.
change the
There
frequency,
you go. Beautiful.
and go from there. So that's how you get all, and it's all touch screen. You touch it, and it's gonna take you there.
And then when I do the scene again, when you guys come in, what I just did there is gonna
It's gonna be gone.
be gone. So I have
So,
to come back and do it again.
so what we need to do is find that sweet spot.
Yeah.
And then record that.
Okay.
Because what's gonna happen now is, which is the hard part, is the sweet spot for you, and the sweet spot for him, and the sweet spot for him is gonna be different. So
Yeah.
we need to find, and this is something I try to talk to our guys about, is we need to sort of, as a group, decide what that sweet spot is,
Yeah.
and then make minor adjustments, and not completely, because what we ran into for times is, we had people who'd come in and re-EQ the whole board, because that's how I like it. Well, it doesn't, I hate to say this, because it hurts.
Say it. Say it.
But it doesn't matter what you like, it matters what works for the congregation and the room.
Yes.
So sometimes you have to run it in a way that you'd rather not, but it's better for the overall room than it is for just you.
Yeah. Can I add something?
Go right ahead.
You know, we here, what we want is to have, not what setting is better, is quality sound. It's something that we have the house at a level that is not too high, so people are comfortable, but loud enough. He doesn't need a mic, by the way, so be careful with his volume. Don't put it too high. But, you know, the devotional and everything else, and then now with the live stream, we want to make sure, again, that it's adequate sound, that we need to be putting more of our attention, not on the settings. The settings are a good place to start, but if we have to make minor adjustments to make sure that the quality of the sound is good, that's what we need to do. And that's what I like to make sure that we are all
Right.
in tune into it. So you mentioned it before, and I just wanted to reinforce it.
No, please do, because it's all, the main thing is the product we're putting out is a consistent product. Because what you don't want is for someone to never look to the back and to be able to say, oh, Angel's running sound today. Oh, John's running sound today. That the room is that different
The
because,
attention is over there.
yeah, because they can tell who's running it. It should be, hey, the sound sounds great today. And it's just a little different, but it sounds great, you know. So that's the whole thing is it's not reworking it to what you want. It's working it so that it works for the room. So you just follow through here, and you can see the little green bar moving as I go down here. And then you just, like I say, tap on the EQ, and then I come back over here and tap on the mic. Couple things you can do when you get into the mic itself. So like microphone number 5 right now, that one that's hardwired, if I hit select, let me get out of here. Okay. So once again, you've got your different layers, your EQ, but number 5, if I come here to the very top section is the things where your gain, that little top button up there. And we don't really need to be messing with that much. The gain should be the gain, and it works. You shouldn't really be messing with it. But what this is going to tell me is where is it plugged in at. So it's telling me that it's plugged into the S-Link socket. Now there's a couple of sockets on this board that we use. One is the local socket. These are local sockets right here. The S-Link sockets are in the room in the back. That's the snake. So it is plugged into S-Link socket number 10 in the back. So then all I need to do is go to the back, count to number 10, and then I see where number 10 is wired. Because then you have a little cord that goes from the snake to the plug on the floor. And it'll tell you, okay, it's plugged into number 47 on the floor. There's a little book back there. You open it up and it'll tell you a diagram where number 47 plug is. And then you just make sure you plug it into that. And you can move it if you need to. So, but we'll get into that.
So, but right now, you're talking about the wired mic.
The wired mic, yeah.
The wired mic, if we want to use it, do we have to go all the way there?
I just need to figure out where it's plugged in at right now.
Okay.
And then I can just show you and we'll just leave it there for now.
It would be better if it's already at.
It usually is by the keys, but it just gets unplugged after services. I'll just show you where it's wired at right now, and we'll just leave it there. But if you can't, if it's not working, then that's the process, is to go back to find out, okay, it's in number 10, go look at number 10, where's number 10 plugged into the floor, and make sure someone didn't move it. So this will tell you where it's plugged in at. You have your gain, you have a trim. We try not to really mess with this unless we have to. Things that we really don't want you digging into is into this. Now, the only thing that you need to know here is let's say somebody brings in a guitar that we need to put a mic on instead of directly plugging it in, just for some reason. It's just an example.
Yeah.
So, of course, you just unplug the direct box, you put the mic on the end of it, but the problem is that direct box has phantom power thrown to it. You do not want phantom power if it's just a microphone. Yeah. And that's what here, so the setting you mainly use here is 48 volt, which is phantom power. If I need phantom power, I touch it and I hold it, and it turns red. If I don't need phantom power, I touch it, I hold it, and it goes off. That means there's no phantom power, and the red means there is phantom power.
Or I use the wired mic for that purpose.
Right, for that purpose. So that's just that. The main thing you're going to use on this panel is getting the phantom power on and off. And once again, that is instead of touching down here where the EQ is, you would touch up here where that white dial is, and it takes you in there. But you can also see that in here. It'll tell you which ones have 48, have the phantom power. And let's say I'm not seeing up here what I need, and instead of pushing the select button, it's all a touch screen. I just keep moving until I see it.
Yeah. But only the DI boxes should have it.
Right. So and it shows you which one has phantom power put on.
And, okay.
No, this is might be a silly question, but what's phantom power?
Phantom power is, okay, so regular microphone. Works, and you talk into it, and it just picks up what's right there. This is a condenser microphone. This microphone I could literally put right here, and if you're sitting right there and you were talking at a decent amount rate, it would be as if you were talking right in front of it. It's a powered microphone. So to do that, I need to have power to make what inside here work properly. So you're,
Transducer.
yeah, so it's it's giving it power to do something other than just what a regular microphone does. It's doing something extra.
It's a voltage.
Yeah, it just needs voltage to, guitars need voltage to amplify and get the pickups working.
They're active devices rather than a passive device
Right.
like a regular microphone.
Dynamic, like a dynamic.
Yeah. So the only other thing that helps out a lot, and I wish they would give me the setting where I can turn this on permanently, but they won't. So right now with your musicians, it'll work great. Once you get your singers up on the in-ears, it works even better. So if you push the talk button, you always make sure that talk button is lit. Then what will happen is if I push this button and I talk into this microphone, everyone that has earphones can hear me. So instead of going, "Hey, Maribel, I need you to," it's like, could everyone stop playing and let me hear the keys, please? And everyone hears it. But you just have to make sure that that is on. And there is an intercom feature on the musicians packs where they can talk to each other. I forget, Jared knows how to do it. I'll have to figure out how to do it. There's a button you push on there and there's a little microphone on the little box. And if you talk, everyone that's on one of those boxes can hear, but the singers can't. So our musicians sometimes will talk to each other about, hey, that's the wrong beat, or could you pick that beat up a little bit? So, any other questions? Okay, so just one last thing, which we'll get into. Just right now, you're just using one layer, but let me just show you an example as you grow. Okay, so this is our setup. So, and on your setup too, the same thing. There's no drums. Where'd the drums go? The drums, so I have 25 channels on this side. And then I have, what I'm doing is I'm just saying these are the first 25 channels. Now these are another 25 channels. And I can assign it, I can make it exactly the same if I wanted to. It'd be useless to do that. But now all of a sudden, these are all my drums. And that's how I mix the drums in the house. I just go down to layer B. Now, you only have 48 inputs that can be active at any one time. But we also have it set up so for when the youth come, they can push that button and it only gives them what they need for the youth. If we have a special service, I have this button set up to where it only gives them what they need for that special service. So that's what we use it, how we use it for that case. So let's go back over to Spanish. The first thing you always need to do is select Spanish, go. Because if not, you'll go up there and go, why is Pastor Ann on the board? Why is Pastor Jeff on the board? Where's Pastor Ricky? Well, that means you need to reset that. So once again, there's your drums on layer 2. We don't really adjust the drums that much because it's just a setting we've gotten into and we, so, but you can adjust it somewhat as you need to. And where it says drum kit, that is what we're sending to the musicians as one signal. So that's what they need to see. All right.
Okay, I wanna do kind of a review,
Okay.
because the basics are, we come here, we turn it on, we wanna make sure that the microphones, we put the batteries on, and we have the lapel we haven't been using it. I wanted to do some testing with Pastor Ricky to do all the setups. We can do it today perhaps, but let's say the 4 handhelds, and the 5th wired, they're labeled, I can't read the
Well,
label.
it's P for pastor, handheld 1. And right now it's mic 2, mic 3, mic 4, which
Okay.
we go to and then mic W5 for wired.
Okay, thank you. It's just for everybody to get familiar with that, and that's usually what we're gonna use. As a matter of fact, we have a request for 4 microphones for the devotional for tomorrow, plus we always give Pastor Ricky 1 so he can sing from where he's sitting at during the devotional and then as he comes up. I don't know how we want to do it, but Emily can have the wired, let's make sure when we finish here that it's wired to the piano. And then we can give it to Emily right there, and then Pastor Ricky can has his own handheld from the very beginning as we practice for tomorrow. Now the instruments. The other thing is I like to limit us having to go to the patch panel and start making changes. So if we can set it up, that we have 3 positions for, I believe it's 3, besides the piano.
Well, the piano, electric and acoustic and bass will always be set up
Exactly,
there, because we use them too.
exactly.
So they're always there.
Okay, so let's
So-
not have to go back to the.
Right, and you don't have to. So here's what we do. Now, I notice y'all do, because of personnel, it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
Keys are always the keys. And I don't see it there, and I gotta find out what they did with it. Usually, on this side over here, that very first box is where the the acoustic is set up. And then the very next one over is where the electric is set up, and then in the back
The bass.
is the bass. That's our normal setup.
Yeah.
So what,
Sammy
What-
is there usually, but if it's Eddie, Eddie likes to be over here.
so what I do in that case
And
is
brings the
just
bass.
realize, and you can change the labeling. You just remember the electric's the acoustic and the acoustic's the electric. But then, I mean, you can easily just come in here, and that's one thing I didn't show you, is if I select the acoustic, and I come up here, and I tap where it says acoustic, you can, and John, you know how to change it, don't you? Or is it, okay, Jorge knows how to change it.
Change what?
The
The
labeling.
labels.
Yes.
Yeah, so then you could just come up here and change that to be bass, or whatever,
Just for that Sunday.
for that Sunday, and then when you save your set, when you close out, it's
Oh,
gonna,
we convinced Eddie, if he's gonna play bass, to go to Sammy's position.
oh, you can do that too. But that may be a harder proposition. So, yeah, so the normal setup should always be there. I gotta find out where the acoustic is. It looks like they moved it, so
Yeah,
I'll find it.
It could be,
Paul,
Okay.
when we end on a Sunday, do we leave the sound equipment exactly where it is? Or do we break it down and put it in the back?
Oh, no, you leave it, because we use the same hookups, so, yeah, you just leave it exactly where it is. So we don't need to tear it apart,
So
because,
just mic stands for singers goes back to the back?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, good question, because all they need to do, the musicians, is to bring your instrument
plug in.
and plug it in.
Mm-hmm.
The sound guy
Well,
shouldn't
the
have to go over
earpiece-
there.
We bring the earpieces over to them.
What?
I'm sorry. We bring their earpieces over to them.
Well, they should come here to pick them up. But
Yes.
Either way, whatever works.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original idea of those boxes was so the musicians can come here and get their own earpieces
Exactly.
because of
Exactly.
health reasons. COVID,
and I
we didn't want to be
remember-
touching the
Well, I don't touch
earpieces.
them, I just open the case, bring it over there, and let them.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
But,
That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
but John, and that's, you're so nice always. It's a good thing, but we're trying to make sure that the sound guy stays here. So if you have to, you have to. And of course, we're gonna do whatever we need to do. But let's try to make it that the musicians come here to pick up their, because also sometimes they're not all there at the same time, and you're trying to do and set thumbs here, things here. So let's try to make sure that we encourage them to come here to pick up their earpiece.
Makes sense.
And what else? I'm trying to go by the
Recap,
basics of what we need to do on a Sunday. We got the instruments, and we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4. Drums are set. And I see a piano over there. That piano stays there and it's connected?
It's there, it just needs to be plugged in. If we pull it forward, it can just be plugged in, yeah.
Okay, you have to go to the box and,
Yeah, and I mean, it may be plugged in, I'm not sure, but I mean, if you need it, let me know and we can have it set up.
well, I don't know, what are we doing for the piano? Will we bring our own, or?
They've been using that one.
No one.
Yeah, they're using that.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, they've been using that one, so, and, yeah, that piano y'all been using, and like I say, but what I meant was, If you want to use the grand piano,
The one in the
Oh, no,
back.
no, I meant the.
yeah, if
the
you want to
one
use the grand piano, let me know and
Yeah.
we'll
No,
pull
no.
that forward for you.
Let's
No,
keep
the electric keyboard's always hooked up.
No, I'm trying to keep it as simple as
Yeah.
possible and trying to do the least amount of adjustment. I mean, you did great, and you, we know where to go when things are needed, but let's try to keep it as simple as we
Right.
can. So we just, that way, we also achieve more consistency throughout.
If things are always where they are, because what I found out in our old analog system is we would spend the first 45 minutes, which y'all are very accustomed to also, is you spend the first 45 minutes and you're hot, you're sweaty, and you've accomplished nothing except, oh, I finally got that microphone to work.
Yeah,
You know, whereas now, what we're finding is we come in, we set up, and we start practice, and we get like 30, 40 more minutes of practice than we used to get.
I used to say, now the sound is ready.
Yeah. And then it's time for service to
So
start.
then we have a little bit of rehearsal time.
All right, so any other questions? So, the only other thing is to turn the board off is, if you notice, I'm up here and I have stuff going on. But to turn it off, I've got to not have anything going on. If something is going on up here, that means one of these buttons is selected. If nothing is selected, that's what you get. Now there is a neat little setup that we use while you're running sound. Sometimes we'll hit meters, and that way you can see all the meters. And so sometimes it helps when you're trying to balance some things, you can see the meters together. But as long as nothing down here is selected and you're just on processing, that's the screen you should get. And when you're done, you just press shutdown. Are you sure you want to shut down? Yes. When you get to this screen, it's telling you to turn the power off. That's the power button you push. You do not push the power button on this board. So go ahead and hit that red button over there. Because that's the only way to get out of it, is to turn it off and turn it back on. So the only thing I'm going to caution you on, if someone is up here with you when you're running sound or doing whatever, and someone's just up here to come by and give you information, or they're just hanging out up here, do not lean against that wall. Because that will happen in the middle of the service. Everyone will go crazy, and then they'll realize that their wallet hit the off button. We've had that happen. All right. Okay, go ahead and push the on button now. Because we need it back on anyway. All right. All right, so that's the basics on sound. Any questions? Okay. Let's do cameras. All right. So